The day I buried my father was the day I learned he had left everything to my sister. No warning, no explanation, not even a final letter. Just a cold line in a legal document read aloud by a probate lawyer with no emotion. All assets, property, and financial holdings to Olivia Wilson. I sat in the back of that room, too stunned to cry, while Olivia nodded solemnly like she hadn't just pulled off the greatest heist of her life. My name is Emma Wilson. I'm 36 years old, a registered nurse, and until that moment, I believed my father had raised us to be equals. But as I watched my sister accept the keys to his house, his car, and the entirety of his estate, something deep in my gut twisted. This wasn't right. It didn't feel like my father. And I was about to find out why. I grew up in Denver, the younger of 2 daughters. Our mother passed when I was 8, so it was mostly just Dad, Olivia, and me. He was a high school English teacher, the kind of man who believed in handwritten letters, second chances, and never letting your tea go cold. After Mom died, he filled both parental roles the best he could, braiding my hair before school, cheering at Olivia's debate tournaments, reading us classics like To Kill a Mockingbird every night until we knew the words by heart. As we got older, things changed. Olivia left for college on the East Coast and barely looked back. She climbed fast, business school, finance, expensive clothes, expensive opinions. Meanwhile, I stayed local, got my nursing license, and took the quieter road. We were never close. Olivia said I settled. I said she forgot where she came from. But when Dad got sick, pancreatic cancer, stage 4, I was the one who stayed. I moved in, took leave from the hospital, managed his appointments, fed him, bathed him, sat with him through the long nights when the pain wouldn't let him sleep. Olivia came once. 3 days. Brought a catered meal, snapped a few photos for Facebook, and left. Still, Dad never spoke ill of her. He believed in people, even when they gave up on themselves. She's just lost in the noise, he'd say. But she'll find her way back. That's why, when he told me, several times, actually, that he was revising his will to split everything equally, I believed him. I even offered to waive my share if it meant peace, but he just smiled, held my hand, and said, "You've given me enough already." So when the lawyer read that final version, giving Olivia everything, I knew, without a shadow of doubt, that something was wrong. And knowing my father like I did, I also knew where to start looking. The day after the will reading, I returned to my father's house alone. Olivia had already started planning the estate's sale, texting me a bulleted list of things she wanted gone, his books, his vinyl records, even the old recliner where he used to sit and read every evening. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked room to room in silence, letting the grief settle like dust on my skin. When I entered his study, the air shifted. It still smelled like him, peppermint, tobacco, old paper. His bookshelves lined every wall, packed tight with novels, history, poetry, and a full section of classics. I ran my fingers along the spines until I reached the one that stopped me cold, To Kill a Mockingbird. He used to read it every year without fail. I remember him saying once, "If there's ever anything I want to hide where it'll still be safe, I'd tuck it inside Atticus Finch." I had thought it was a metaphor. But now, I wasn't so sure. I pulled the book off the shelf. It felt heavier than it should have. Thicker. I flipped it open, and there it was, wedged neatly between the pages, sealed in a plastic sleeve like it had been waiting. A folded document and a handwritten letter. My heart pounded. I opened the letter first. The ink was shaky but familiar, every stroke my father's. "Emma, if you're reading this, then I didn't get a chance to fix things in time. Olivia brought a new will for me to sign while I was on pain meds." I didn't fully understand what I was signing, but she insisted it was just a revision. "I'm so sorry. This document here is my true, final will. Signed 2 weeks ago, when I was fully lucid, in the presence of Mr. Ashford. I made sure to include something specific: if either of you contests or deceives the other, their share goes to charity. I hope you never have to use this. But knowing you, if anyone can find the truth, it's you. Love, Dad. My hands trembled as I opened the second document. A notarized, signed will, dated just 14 days before his death. His signature matched every card he'd ever written me. And it split the estate evenly between us. I sank into his chair, the book still open in my lap, and let the truth settle like gravity. Olivia hadn't just stolen money. She'd stolen trust. Legacy. And now, I had the key to undo it all. I sat in that study for a long time, the letter resting in my lap, the weight of it anchoring me in place. Part of me wanted to cry, another part wanted to storm out and call Olivia, scream at her, demand answers. But I didn't. Not yet. My father had always taught me to think before I moved, to act, not react. And now wasn't the time to explode. It was the time to plan. I made 2 copies of the will and the letter, one for safekeeping at home, one to give to a lawyer. Then I slipped the originals back into the book and placed it in my tote bag like any other title I might have borrowed. I knew Olivia wouldn't notice. She never cared about books unless they came with a price tag. The next morning, I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Ashford, my father's longtime estate attorney. He looked tired when he greeted me, the kind of tired that comes from disappointment. But when I laid the documents on his desk, his entire demeanor changed. He read the letter slowly, then opened the new will and examined every page. "This is his signature," he said at last. "This is valid. It's dated and notarized by my former partner." I wasn't informed of this revision, but he had every legal right to change it. He leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning me like he was seeing something more than just a grieving daughter. "Do you want to contest the will that was read in court?" he asked. "No," I said calmly. "I want to replace it with the one my father meant to leave behind. And I want Olivia to hear it in the same room where she thought she'd won." Ashford nodded slowly, a hint of respect returning to his gaze. "There's one more thing," I said. "Read the clause near the bottom." He flipped to the final page, eyebrows lifting slightly. Then he smiled. "If either beneficiary is found to have deceived or misled the other, their inheritance will be forfeited to charity." Clever man, your father. I nodded. He always saw further than the rest of us. And just like that, the wheels were in motion. A petition was filed to introduce the revised will, along with my father's letter and the testimony of the notary who witnessed the signature. A new court date was set. All I had to do now was wait. The day of the probate hearing, I arrived early, dressed in navy blue, my father's favorite color. I carried a leather folder tucked neatly under my arm, the real will inside, along with his letter and the notarized affidavit from the witness. Outside the courthouse, I spotted Olivia in designer sunglasses and a camel coat, chatting breezily with her lawyer like this was just another social function. She didn't even glance my way as I passed. Inside the courtroom, everything moved quickly, until it didn't. The judge reviewed the original case, restated the terms of the first will, then asked if there were any new filings. That was my cue. I stood up. "Your Honor, I respectfully request that this court consider a revised will, signed and notarized 2 weeks before my father's passing, as well as a personal letter that provides context." Olivia turned to me, her smile faltering for the first time. "What is this?" she whispered, but I didn't answer. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Do you have the documents?" "I do." Ashford handed them over, his expression unreadable. The room fell silent as the judge read first the letter, then the new will. I watched Olivia's hands tighten around the arms of her chair, her composure cracking line by line. "And this clause," the judge murmured, tapping the final paragraph. "If either beneficiary is found to have deceived the other, their share is to be forfeited to charity?" "Yes, Your Honor," I replied. "And the letter makes it clear that my sister presented our father with a different document while he was under heavy medication. The will she submitted previously was not his last true intention." Olivia's lawyer stood to object, claiming there was no proof of coercion, no video footage, no recorded conversation. But the judge shook his head. "The letter is specific. The timing is consistent. And the notarized signature on this revised will is dated and witnessed. I see no reason not to accept it. Then came the decision. The court recognizes the revised will as the legal, final testament of Mr. Harold Wilson. The estate will be divided equally between Ms. Emma Wilson and Ms. Olivia Wilson, per his stated wishes. However, the judge paused, looking directly at Olivia. Due to the credible evidence of deception, I am also ordering Ms. Olivia Wilson to pay all legal fees associated with this hearing. Any future attempt to contest this ruling will trigger the charitable forfeiture clause. It was done. Olivia didn't speak as we exited the courtroom. She just stood there, frozen, her mouth slightly open like she couldn't quite believe she'd lost. I didn't gloat. I didn't even look back. I just walked out into the sunlight, the leather folder still clutched in my hands, my father's words echoing in my mind. You've given me enough already. Back at the house, our house now, because Olivia had no grounds to claim it solely anymore, I stepped into the study once more. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The books, the faint scent of pipe tobacco, and the soft afternoon light falling across the chair where my father once sat reading every evening. For the first time in weeks, the silence felt like peace, not loss. But Olivia wasn't done. Later that week, I got an email. No subject line. Just 2 sentences. You think you've won, but this isn't over. Dad always loved me more. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Her attempt to rewrite his legacy had failed, and now the truth stood in plain sight, backed by signatures, letters, and the law itself. What she hadn't realized was that this wasn't just about money. It never was. It was about the truth, and the bond between a father and the daughter who never stopped showing up. Word spread quickly among extended family. Cousins who once flocked to Olivia's parties now reached out to me. We always wondered, one aunt whispered on a call. Something never felt right with how she handled the funeral. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. A week after the court ruling, I met with Mr. Ashford again to finalize the estate transfer. As we signed the final documents, he looked up and said, "Your father would be proud, Emma. Not just because you found the truth, but because you handled it with restraint. With grace." I nodded, quietly absorbing the weight of that sentence. Before leaving, I handed him one last envelope, one Olivia never knew about. It contained a request to set up a scholarship fund at the local nursing school in my father's name. The Harold Wilson Scholarship for Compassionate Care. Fully funded by my half of the inheritance. That night, I lit a candle on the windowsill and opened To Kill a Mockingbird once again, not to search, not to uncover, but to remember. My father had hidden his final truth in the pages of a story about justice, kindness, and courage. And now, finally, justice had found its way home. Spring arrived early in Denver that year. The snow melted fast, the air turned soft, and the silence in my father's house became something comforting instead of hollow. I spent my days packing up the pieces he left behind, not just the furniture or the books, but the quiet habits, the handwritten notes in the margins of novels, the grocery lists still taped to the fridge. One afternoon, I found an old Polaroid tucked behind a photo frame. It was of Olivia and me, sitting in the backyard as kids, our knees dirty, faces covered in popsicle juice, Dad behind the camera laughing. We looked happy, once. I let the photo slide back into its place without bitterness. Some memories don't need to be touched, just preserved. As for Olivia, she went silent after the court ruling. No more threats. No apologies either. She disappeared into her world of luxury and curated perfection. I didn't follow. Let her live in the house of cards she built. Mine, at least, had solid walls. The scholarship fund launched quietly but powerfully. I received letters from nursing students who'd never met my father but thanked him anyway. They didn't know how he made his tea or why he loved the scent of old books, but they would carry his legacy forward, one patient at a time. That, more than anything, felt like justice. Sometimes, when I walk past the study, I catch a glimpse of To Kill a Mockingbird resting on the shelf. I haven't moved it. I don't think I ever will. It's not just a book now. It's a monument. A reminder that the truth has a way of finding light, even when others try to bury it. And that's how I learned that quiet persistence is stronger than deceit. That legacy is more than property, it's memory, character, and intention. Living well isn't just the best revenge. It's the most honest way to honor the people who believed in you, even after they're gone. And that's how I learned that sometimes the quietest truths carry the loudest justice. Has something like this ever happened in your family? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like, subscribe to True Tales for a new true revenge story every day. And share this with someone who believes in karma.